Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Thought Leaders. I'm your host, Chris Chang, and today we have Redek, who is the CEO of Bouncer. Thank you so much for joining us, Redek.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, Chris.
Of course, tell us a little bit about Bouncer. What is it you guys do? What kind of companies do you guys work with?
Yeah, we at Bouncer we like to think about ourselves that we're helping people get connected and stay connected over email, which is very important communication channel. Let's be honest, we're not changing the world for the better place by sophisticated algorithms of email verification, which we do have. But we're super fortunate and grateful for supporting, the biggest NGOs, the most influential in NGOs, some amazing governmental institutions, but also like the most known brands on the world. Of course, we cannot, due to the NDAs, share some of those names,
Sure.
but yeah, we it's really an honor to serve that kind of customers. Plus, on the other hand, we've got thousands of like small and medium businesses as well, marketers, mostly. So we are treating every single customer the same as as they are.
Yeah, I got you. We'd love to kind of dive into because I'm personally curious around the topic, and I know that a lot of probably listeners are too, because this is a very relevant topic nowadays. But before we do and dive into what Bouncer does, how you guys are handling it, what you're noticing internally, we'd love to kind of get an understanding of your background, how you got into development in the first place. We get a lot of random stories. Sometimes it's like the kid that got the computer at a young age from their parents and just like started tinkering around with it. What was your story like, and how did you find your interest into that world?
I kind of was a geek in the primary school, really into math and physics. So it was, yeah, my friends wanted to be like firemen, policemen. I wanted to be a computer scientist
Mhm.
back then. And I've been, playing around with Commodore 64 and then Ataris and then like early PCs 286, which was super cool, super fun. So I did want to be a software engineer or computer scientist when I was kid. And then in high school, interestingly, I got into like rock music, playing guitar, having like a small rock band, and I decided to go to the technical university to study acoustics because I wanted to be like a sound engineer. But so I did. But very early on in the game, I realized, yeah, it's the acoustics is not as fun as computer science, so I kind of switched my major to very relevant, very connected subjects as the computer science. It was like an application of computer science and technology, which was great actually, major. Then I did I started PhD at bioengineering, but at the same time I hired myself a really cool company, a Swedish company, which was Volvo Group, first in Poland, and I moved to US to work for Mack Trucks and Volvo Trucks, like managing the portfolio of critical applications in South and North Americas for Mack Trucks and the like aftermarket space. And it was amazing experience. And actually, at that moment, we did have some challenges with the typos when let's say, a driver was coming to the service bay, and drivers in the US have all sorts of accents, so there have been a ton of typos when they've been trying to spell the email address of the decision makers, of the fleet managers, because we wanted to capture that to notify them that there's some messages on the platform, communication platform we've been using. But the problem was like much bigger than just the continuity of this communication, because it was affecting as well like ability to upsell, cross-sell services, to survey, how was the service event. So I figured, hmm, that might be an interesting problem to be solved. And very coincidentally, I went for a vacation to Poland for some sailing, and I met with my friend from high school, with whom actually we've been playing in the same rock band, and he was running at that time a pretty cool startup as well in the like sales enablement, sales automation space, and they had ton of deliverability issues actually coming from customers uploading like undeliverable email addresses.
Hmm.
So there was like another part of the problem. So actually during that breakfast, I decided, okay, I'm ready. I'm moving back to Europe, to Poland. I'm quitting my job. Like an hour after that, I called my boss and told her, yeah, that's this moment. I'm gonna leave you like in probably 3 months. We're gonna have plenty of time just for me to pass the duties to someone who will take over my role. But yeah, I'm moving back to Poland to start Bouncer.
Got
So
it.
that's let's say a long story short.
Fair enough. Um, Interesting. And so, uh, through your friend and him going through that experience in the sales enablement tool, um, you kind of found the pain point. How did you know, or how did you? Yeah, I guess like the question comes is to like, um, knowing that this is a problem that needed to be solved. How did you decide that it was worth your effort to be the one to solve this problem, or at least, be out there to try to solve it differently than what was already currently out
Well, first of all, I wanted to be entrepreneur like for years
there?
working
Mm,
for the corporation. And the main reason I stayed there was because of the values and actually ability to kind of learn and to experience a lot of stuff. So I've been playing around with entrepreneurship as well, like rolling out some new business models or experimenting with new business models for the trucks, playing around with the innovation centers, working with the VCs to some extent, like internal VC. So I already had some, let's say, tools and some experience there, and I felt okay, that might be actually a good time. The thing was that the problem existed, but also the niche already existed. So there have been already some competitors of ours that have been doing quite similar things. So the market fit um, was already discovered or built.
mhm,
The also the let's say the customers have been already, at least some groups of the customers have been already educated. Being like an early stage startup with not much funding, it is so difficult to educate the market and to actually like truly innovate. So I really wanted a niche that already existed, but we felt that we can do things better. So it was a bit naive, to be honest, like from perspective of those 7 years. We actually wanted to be API only, to be backend as a service kind of model, to provide like really sophisticated tech and the engine to MarTech players. That's also the reason why we decided on this name, why we decided on that kind of mascot of ours, because we wanted to be a protector of MailChimps, SurveyMonkeys, and other animals in the MarTech space, providing them actually just an engine. It was super naive, even though, you know, I've been hustling a lot, talking with folks from HubSpot and trying to convince them, and from like the biggest MarTech SaaSes on the planet. So kind of been successful in just reaching out and starting the conversation, but not having any name in the industry because I was coming from the automotive, not having any brand recognition, having really good tech because we've been super fortunate to hire like the best software engineer I'd say I've been working with, and he's right now our CTO and as well our shareholder. Um, so um, so we've been super fortunate to have a really good tech, but the trust is something that you gain over time, and you need to prove yourself, and it's super, let's say, risky decision for that kind of MarTech players just to connect with your API instead of someone more mature, even though you're claiming it's a best stack on the planet. So it was naive, but indeed we wanted to focus on the quality over quantity and building an engine, like super sophisticated way to manage the flow of the verifications, like of millions, hundreds millions of verifications a month that was able to sustain the reputation of our infrastructure, and by that enable us to take the risks from our customers on our shoulders and just kind of clean it. So,
Got
yeah, but there's been a lot of naiveness back then. There still is. But yeah, after 7 years, we are in a completely different place than we've been before.
And what would you say of what do you mean by that in terms of like a different place? Like in terms of uh the growth trajectory, where you guys are as a company in terms of size and stage, or what's different?
We're still a very lean organization. Like it's 8 of us right now, the whole team, which is pretty fun to compete with the companies that are 10 times bigger than us, or even more, with a ton of capital. But our growth trajectory is pretty decent, I'd say. We're profitable. We're yeah, we are profitable with really good margins since we almost hit the end of the runway. It was super close. But since then we've been working really well. Plus, we are right now being recognized as one of the best players on the market, and as well, like the surround sound strategy that we started a few years back started to work really well for us. So yeah, the whole actually the whole growth channels, growth engines, all the growth engines are mostly inbound right now, with just very small fraction of the outbound activities. So it's like really good, sustainable, organic growth right now.
Got it. Um, so we'd love to kind of talk about like I think that just that space in general, because I feel like it's changed a lot, especially this year. But yeah, what have you noticed from when you started the business, almost 7 years ago now, to I would say like the past 2 years, like the past year specifically, we knew like fall about a year ago, right, that there was an announcement from Google and some of these email services that said that they're going to be much more stricter with how they accept deliverability. And I think from a sales and go-to-market perspective, it ignited a lot of fires for people, and people are scrambling in terms of like, well, what's best practices now? How do we ensure deliverability? How can outbound still work? Does it still work? That kind of thing. What have you seen though from your perspective in terms of, you talk about like educating the space, like I feel like everybody that's in that would utilize this kind of service is now aware of the problem, and the education has become much more organic. So how much of it is like now a differentiator conversation versus like educating conversation for you guys? And how are you guys positioning it differently in terms of the narrative of what Bouncer is, how you guys explain it, how you position it from a go-to-market on your side?
Yeah, right now it's and as I mentioned, it's a different space because we are being recognized as well, also as the experts. However, we also decided that we don't want to provide the professional services, meaning like deliverability audits or deliverability consulting, because that's completely different business model. So and we do like to be like a zebra, meaning being a company that delivers the value with what we do the best, meaning the software for the email verification and deliverability monitoring. But we want to partner also with the other folks on the market who are the best in what they do. So we like to kind of be in a pack of zebras, so to say. But indeed, the education part is an important part, and uh, we we see that sometimes customers that come to us, they are aware of the problem, but don't know kind of all the ins and outs of the deliverability complexity. So that's also the reason why kind of at some point, like 2 years ago, I've been kind of doing a roadshow of speaking about the deliverability being a result of respect. Which actually is in many ways. So the educational part is more and more in place, but also showing how we are better than the other folks on the market plays a significant role. Sometimes we've been joking with our competitors on some conferences that yeah, we're small, probably still small, too small to educate the whole market. But yeah, the COO of our biggest competitor said, "Don't worry, we'll educate the market for you, and you'll probably take the part out of that." But yeah, things did change. Well, the narrative changed for sure. Like the principles of deliverability have been changed for years. And so what Google and Yahoo mutually announced last year was actually just saying that they will start enforcing some of the best practices that have been there for years, if not decades.
Mhm.
Because there's nothing new stuff. There's no new stuff. Of course, the algorithms are much more sophisticated. The usage of the AI is there to identify some patterns and coming from the senders, but the principles are the same. So yeah, kind of control your volumes, be respectful, be so respectful in a way that you're sending to those that are interested in what you got to say, and you are as well respecting all the unsubscribes and you're monitoring your spam complaints as well. Plus, you're having in place the authentication part, which is like those few acronyms like SPF, DKM, DMARC, which is nothing else than just protecting your identity in the email ecosystem, protecting that no one else could impersonate you, and giving also the sign to to the email service providers like Google, Yahoo, that it's you. So everything, well, any mistakes that there might be, and there's always some mistakes. There will happen some hiccups, but they are kind of those folks do know that it's you, so that they could contact you or you can contact them to solve the issue, and there's no fuss of or risk that someone else is using your identity, your domain reputation to send like phishing or hacking messages. to their audience. So those things, the principles haven't changed, and the narrative did change, and the enforcement started to be there. Enforcement actually for mostly affecting the big senders. So like in 90%, I'd say 90 plus percent folks that already had those things in place. Only few slackers probably did not monitor or maintain their email deliverability because of lack of knowledge or actually some other assets and talent, or access to the talent in the deliverability space. But majority of the big centers already had those things in place. So it's a gradual move to educate, and it's actually a good thing that the biggest folks on the in the ecosystem are utilizing their outreach and their audiences to educate the whole market, for the small folks like us.
Yep. Um, Very cool. As we have a few more minutes left, what's kind of for all those founders out there that are still, looking at trying to figure out how to leverage email as a channel, what would you say best practices are, and just from a very maybe rudimentary standpoint, that they should be thinking about, like the top 5 things?
I'd say that uh, um, the one that I kind of position in the first place is uh, it's uh, being kind of mindful of what your audience is expecting from you, and being empathetical, meaning respect your audience. That's the first thing. So it starts with the, like, let's say, capturing the contact, or regardless whether you're like having sophisticated marketing funnels and strategies, or it's more basic. First, like, deliver on promise. Like, if you've been promising that you're gonna be communicating with your audience in one, let's say, domain or specific subject, just stick to that. Of course, you can ask at some point, or try to expand your, let's say, services, or your knowledge or your expertise, and send on different topics as well. But be respectful. Be respectful of also of the time, attention, and energy of your recipient. So segmenting really well your audience is a key thing, based on what you know from them, what you know based on their engagement with your communication, or what you know about their interest. It's really good to, like, craft as much as possible the message for particular part of your audience, because we are all humans, and regardless if it's like B2B, B2C, it's always human to human communication. So being empathetical is really important aspect. If you're doing like, let's say, outbound outreach activities over email, which sometimes in various, let's say, crowds might be considered as spammy. um the prospecting here is like essential, like doing really good prospecting and maximizing the probability that someone will be interested in what you've got to offer is the key. And then maybe connecting that with some signals. If you do know that particular part of, let's say, or particular ideal customer persona is more eager to be interested in what you've got to offer at certain moments, or at some certain event, then try to target them. Because like, let's say, for example, in cold email, well, like the old style cold email, like doing spray and pray
Mhm.
stuff is out of the picture right now, I'd say. Because it's gonna be because then you're going into high volumes, and then essentially it's gonna be impossible to deliver and scale with the deliverability issues and the deliverability changes in the past few years. So spray and pray is kind of a strategy that's not going to be working anymore nowadays. So finding other ways to identify, the people that might be interested in what you've got to offer is very important, is super important, and prospecting is one of them, indeed.
Yep. Last question here is just on the idea of, you mentioned kind of the best practices, and there's a lot of tools out there that I feel like, to a certain degree, is giving like a loaded gun to a toddler, right? Like a lot of AI tools has made it really easy for junior salespeople to still do. I still call it spray and pray, even if it's hyper personalized. Like they don't even know what to personalize, and it comes across as I generated, and and it's just creating additional noise in the channel, in email as a channel. What are your thoughts around, email as a channel, and with the progression of some of these tools being so readily accessible and easy to deploy, that, as people who are, as a consumer side of things, somebody who is the end user of email, and thinking about my behavior, maybe even you thinking about it from your own personal behavior, how quickly are you dismissing things in this as a channel, and how viable is it, do you think, from, like, where do you think is how that's going to evolve with the fact that there's more noise? Like, do you feel like there's going to be tools out there that's going to be able to now quickly scan for all of that, and you know what I mean, like, and then all of a sudden just like one click delete, and we just trust that that's going to be the way that we clean our inboxes going forward? Is there going to be other kind of like screening uh tools that we can, integrate with our inboxes to just literally cut out all of the superfluous noises versus the threads that are actually important to us from team members? Or are we going to, have a new version of email? Like, I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on that.
I think that well, probably we're not gonna it's a very old mature channel. I'm not thinking there will be some revolution in the email space, but of course at some point I might be surprised, but there's gonna be like gradual evolution of actually like the biggest folks on the market protecting our inboxes with these sophisticated tools. Um, the of course checking the basics, but as well like identifying the AI generated content, identifying the, let's say, that kind of senders that do spray and create a noise, and just actually connect the dots, connect the data, and reduce their deliverability for sure. So I don't feel there will be or there might be a space, and maybe there will be some new kids on the block who will be coming with a good solutions to clean our mailboxes from the noise. But I think that the majority of the work will be done by the biggest folks on the market, and maybe sometimes providing the technology also to the smaller email service providers. Indeed, there's a ton of the noise in the channel right now, and it's very difficult to spot let's say, mm, messages that are, for example, generated by the AI. But I think that there will be like correction in the channel as well. And for sure, because sometimes even though right now senders, some for example cold mailers, think that they can just switch the domains and create a ton of domains to send from, configure them well, and go for the volume. The email service providers will be able to identify and connect the dots and kind of uh, and influence or impact the deliverability of the new domains, for example, set up, and connect that with the deliverability of the past abusive and to some degree and behaviors. And as well, people, there's a lot of data already about the engagement, with whom certain people and do engage and with whom not. And also, with the AI, like recently I saw an interesting, let's say, a strategy of utilizing AI for sending the cold mails. And For example, the AI was probably it's all about the prompt and using the AI, but the AI was generating messages meaning, hey, Chris, I've been to your city like few years back, and I love this particular coffee place, coffee shop. How do you like it? And it was, kind of simple, maybe to some degree cheap move to get the attention, but it was based on the lie, because the salesperson never been to your
Yep.
city and never been that in that cafe. And I believe that in the long run, that kind of house nations will be caught and kind of penalized with more or less accessible technology. Well, it's probably gonna be really accessible technology built by the biggest folks on the market. So we we need to get back to the basics, to the respect, to the empathy, and try to think, okay, would I be interested in getting that kind of message if I were in the shoes of my recipients?
Yep. Absolutely. Love it. Very, very much. Thank you for taking the time today. I think there's a lot of great insights that you shared, a lot of great nuggets. And obviously, as it pertains back to your specific background, it was super helpful.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Of course.